behalf of Algona Branch AAUW, the Algona Public Library, KLGA, and the AHS Broadcasting class, welcome to the AAUW Primary Candidate Forum. If you are watching the live stream on KLGA's YouTube channel, welcome. If a friend calls you and wonders how to be part of the live stream audience, please tell them go to the KLGA website, or Facebook page to find the information. Please call your questions in for the county candidates in contested races at one of these two numbers, 515-320-2583, and the other number is 515-320-0111. We have people ready to take your call. For those of you who are present in the room here in the library, please raise your hand and someone will give you paper to write your questions on for the candidates. So if you need paper, we can supply that. The forum will also be broadcast on the local Access, AMU, and Mediacom TV stations at a later date, thanks to the recording by the AHS broadcasting class. It is seldom that we have even one contested county primary race, but we have three tonight. They are as follows. For County Supervisor District 2, we have Howard Hawes, Will Struker by Zoom, as he already had vacation planned but wanted to be here. For County Supervisor District 5, Amber Garman, Dennis Higgins, Christian Schlaffer, and for County Sheriff, Roger Fisher and Brian Runenberg. Tammy Eden is running for County Auditor. Please stand, Tammy. Tammy does not have an opponent in the primary, so she will not be answering questions during the broadcast. If you do wish to ask her questions, please see her after the forum. And Bruce Minders is also running. No, he's okay. But we do have Kevin Virgil, who is the U.S. House, running for the U.S. House. I don't know if Kevin... He's in the hallway, but he's not taking questions during the forum, but also he will accept questions afterwards. A reminder, please call your questions in for the county candidates, and I'm going to repeat the numbers, 515-320-2583 and 515-320-0111. And now we will have opening statements by the candidates, and we'll give you kind of the housekeeping duties. They each have 1.5 minutes for opening statements. Remember that our timer, Karen Danowitz, Karen, would you stand up? She's the one who has the little signs. She'll tell you when you have 15 seconds left. She will then wave when time is up. We will begin with County Supervisor candidate for District 2, Howard Hawes, and we'll go through the list in the order. Candidates, please remember to almost kiss your mics as you speak so that you can be heard by our audience here and on the live stream. Thank you. And now, okay, so now if we can go through your opening statements, we'll start with you, Mr. Hawes.
Yes, thank you. Is that close enough?
Yep.
Good evening. As introduced, I'm Howard Hawes. I was born and raised in the Algona area. I'm a 1978 graduate of Algona High School. I've been married to my wife, Sue, for almost 37 years. Together, we have 3 grown children. We've lived in the same house on the north side of Algona for the last 35 years. I've been a farmer in the Algona area for over 40 years. Having been engaged in the farming business, I had the opportunity and pleasure to serve on the cooperative elevator boards in the area for over 25 years, and the last 15 years I was board president. I feel this experience of working with boards and various members of those boards over the years gives me some insight as to how to be an effective member of a governing body. I believe in responsible stewardship of the county's resources, in supporting our farmers and all county businesses, and ensuring everyone has a voice in shaping our future. I don't believe there's easy answers to the problems facing the county right now. If it was easy, it would be done. But if everyone makes an effort to work together, I think we can meet the challenge and overcome it. I want to thank AAUW and the library and KLGA for organizing the forum. It's a great way for the public to get to meet us. Thanks.
Thank you. Now,
My name is Will Stricker. I'm running for County Supervisor, District 2. I have two sons, Wyatt and Joseph. Been pretty much a lifelong resident of Algona. Did a brief stint in the Navy. Moved on, and like Howard said, there is no easy decisions that need to be made for this county. It is going to be a very difficult time moving forward. We have a lot of challenges, and there's going to be a lot of decisions that are made that people aren't going to be happy with, and there's no easy way around that. I hope that I can make them decisions for people and move forward with greatness. I want to thank the library and KLGA for putting this on, and hope everything goes well from here on out.
thank you. And Amber Brown.
Hello, everyone. I am very appreciative for the opportunity to be here tonight. I am Amber Garman. My husband Dave and I were both born and raised here in Kasuth County, and we've raised our 3 children here. I'm running for 5th District Supervisor. The current supervisor is not running again, so I thought it was a perfect opportunity for me to get back into local politics. I feel I have the experience that will make me an excellent supervisor. I was an employee in the auditor's office for 14 years prior to being elected Kasuth County Auditor, and I held that position for 12 years. As everyone knows, the auditor is the secretary to the Board of Supervisors, and there are also many other duties in the auditor's office that affect the Board of Supervisors, including the budget, valuations, and property taxes. My vast knowledge in each of those items will assist me if elected, and I consider my knowledge to be an asset to all citizens of Kasuth County. I care a lot about Kasuth County. I'm a very good listener, and I know I will make good decisions as your 5th District Supervisor. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate your support.
Dennis Higgins.
Hello, my name is Dennis Higgins. I am not much of a public speaker yet. I've been a Kasuth County resident all my life. I was born and raised in the Titonka area, and I still live in the Titonka area. And I also grew up, I was engaged in the farming and livestock industry all my life. I had driven truck over the road for a few years, and then I had gotten a job at the Kasuth County Road Department out of Titonka there, where my main job was to fix tile in the south end of the county. And then after a couple years, there was some transfers of employees, and I ended up taking over a township, and I maintained the roads, gravelled them, plowed the snow off them, and the blacktops.
Mr. Higgins, please get closer to the microphone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that better?
Yes.
Sorry. And with my vast knowledge of over the 32 years of working with the road department, I have come to notice a lot of places where possibly we can work on trying to cut expenditures in different aspects and try to save the road department or the county money. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. Christian Schlaffer.
Thank you all for being here. I'm also running for 5th District, and for those who don't know, that covers Burt, Lone Rock, Benton, all the way to Titonka. And if you're out that way in German Township, you may look around and see a kind of orange block. That's the house that my wife and I are building. It's not quite finished entirely yet because we're trying to do it with our own hands. After school, we lived briefly in a city, and then we moved back home to Iowa. where we started building that house and setting up our roots for the future. We've always been very actively involved in the community. I volunteer with the fire department, my wife with the ambulance, and now I'm looking for a way to continue to give back to the community, running for County Board of Supervisors. Many of you might have heard me speak at the caucuses, and there we're kind of speaking about larger things affecting the nation on a national scale. But during our daily commute, it's the things that are happening right here in the county that we actually see that affect our lives. And what I think we really need are individuals who are going to give the care and attention to that future. For me, that's not just the future of my family itself and the house we're building, but the community that we're going to be building that family in. That's especially prudent right now, that need for care and attention as we have the specter of some of these major issues, such as eminent domain or the rising costs that are affecting both the county budget and our own lives. So I'm excited to answer questions from you all today, and I encourage everybody to reach out to me if you have more questions or concerns over the coming weeks. Thank you.
Roger Fisher.
Good evening, and thank you to the AAUW, the Algona Library, and KLGA for hosting the candidate forum, and to the citizens of Kossuth County for willing to get a little wet tonight and come out and listen, and those of you listening live. My name is Roger Fisher. I'm your current elected Kossuth County Sheriff. I'm a lifelong resident of Kossuth County, and I've served the citizens of this county for the past 37 years. I've served as a deputy sheriff under 4 previous sheriffs, gaining a wealth of experience and knowledge in the operation of a sheriff's budget, patrol, and division of civil and jail. In today's rapidly changing society and unknown certainties of public safety, it is more vital than ever that we maintain experience, calm, and professional leadership as the role of sheriff. I'm asking you to take time to think back over the past 4 decades. You know me. I've been here for many of you and your families. The one honor I'm proud of is that in November of 2022, you elected me your sheriff. Tonight, I'm asking you to listen carefully to your choices of the sheriff for the next 4 years. Your vote in the primary election will make that decision. I am the only candidate with administrative experience in operating a sheriff's budget, jail division, civil division, and patrol division. I'm asking you to be an informed voter and determine who you feel will provide positive leadership for the 25 employees of our sheriff's office and the citizens of this county. As your sheriff, your political views are God-given rights, and I took an oath to uphold the Constitution and protect the rights of all citizens. Thank you.
And Brian Vandenberg.
Thank you to AAUW, Algona Public Library, and KLGA for putting this debate together, and a big thank you to everyone attending and listening in. My name is Brian Vandenberg, and I'm seeking your vote June 4th for Kossuth County Sheriff. I'm a husband, father, grandfather, and friend. I've been in law enforcement for 24 years. I first started my career with a small police department, then worked for the Algona County Sheriff's Office. And then in 2017, was hired here in Kossuth County. My career includes drug investigations, drug recognition expert, field sobriety instructor, field training officer, to name a few. Before law enforcement, I joined the U.S. Army right out of high school. I spent 8 years in the Army, and I'm a Desert Storm veteran. I was in charge and responsible for soldiers, giving them tasks and making sure they got completed. My last assignment, I was responsible for the expenditures of units, ammunition, training accounts. In my career in the Army and law enforcement, I thrived on learning and teaching soldiers and officers. My leadership and experiences makes me the best candidate to be your next sheriff. I'm also a lifetime member with the VFW. I'm also a member in the American Legion in Whittemore. And I'm also involved with Moving Veterans Forward and among some other things here locally. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates, for taking the time to introduce yourself to us tonight. We're going to start with the questions. And Mr. Struker, we're going to start with you. Are we
Okay.
okay? Okay. This question is for all supervisor candidates. Describe why you are interested to serve as a Kossuth County supervisor. Would you be running for and would you accept the position if the salary was half of the present amount and there were no benefits?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell me why you're interested in serving?
I'm interested in helping the county out. I've been there 9 years, and it's done nothing but go downhill in them 9 years, mainly in the last 3 to 4 years. And it used to be a fun place, and it's not so much fun anymore.
Okay, thank you. Howard, we'll go to you if you want to answer that question, please.
Well, the absolute truth would be I was approached by the Farm Bureau. They were interested in having someone with a farm background to serve. It's a very urban district, District 2. Thought about it, talked to my wife about it, thought maybe I could do some good, and decided to go forward and give it a try. Would I do it for half the money and no benefits? Probably don't need the benefits so much. I don't know. I'm even positive what it pays, somewhere in the neighborhood of $40,000, I believe. I say I would do it for half the money. I'm not offering that, but I probably would do it for half the money.
Thank you. Christian?
The question was, why am I interested to serve? I'm interested to serve because as we start to build our future here, as a young individual, I don't come with as much experience working for the county in my life. What I do come with is like an attention to detail, a care and an interest. And the fact that perhaps more than anybody sitting here today, the future of this county affects me and affects my children. This is the place we're building our lives, and there's many other young individuals like me as well. We talked about perhaps things going down in the last few years. Those things didn't come about overnight. Those things developed over time. And we need individuals who are going to be able to look into the future, identify what those problems are, and start to address them now. Because the same things that are hurting us here are hurting us elsewhere in the nation, and the only way to get ahead of those things is with care and attention. As far as the salary and benefit, I work a full-time job that I'll continue to work via flexible hours, or I'm out in the pasture with my sheep, although I don't sell quite enough of those. Let me know if you want a sheep. But yes, I would work this job with no salary, no benefit.
Amber?
Okay, would I run for less money and no benefits? Absolutely. I am not running for the money. I'm not running for the benefits. I'm running because I care for Kossuth County. I care for the work that is done every day in the county. And I do feel like there are some things that maybe we could do better. I own my own business, and it does allow me to be flexible with my hours and be a board of supervisor member and still take care of the people that I take care of every day. So in short, I'm running because I care about Kossuth County, and I was part of it for 26 and a half years, and I guess there's still a big part of it in my heart. Thank you.
Dennis?
Hello. Yes, I would run for less money and no benefits. I have a job. I retired from the county after 32 years, and I took on another job, and I don't have to worry about that. But the reason I am running is because over the 32 years that I have worked in Kossuth County in the road department and that, I have seen a lot of the supervisors basically kind of wash their hands of some of the issues and pass them off. And I want to have a hands-on with everything and try to do the best I can for the constituents in my county district. Thank you.
Okay, just a reminder, online they're having trouble hearing you, so I'm going to go back to my first statement where you've got to kiss the mic, you got to go, and then not just you, everybody, so just a reminder, okay? Okay, this next question is for all supervisors and sheriff candidates, and Roger, we'll start with you. Give 2 examples with outcomes of your experience where you were effective in collaborating, resolving, or compromising when working with colleagues or customers with whom you do not agree. What was the outcome of each of those 2 examples?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. Thank you for the question. In my line of work, you have to collaborate and work with everybody. We work in a business that when we get called to someone's residence or business or whatever the type of call is, it's not only just your coworkers that you got to work with, but you got to work with the citizens. One thing I can be proud of in my 37 years is I've treated everybody with respect. No matter what you're involved in, I treat them the way I would like to be treated, and that's what you have to do as an administrator and with your coworkers. So basically, as an administrator, I've got 25 employees that I'm responsible for, and I make sure that we work together as a team. If somebody is falling away from that team atmosphere, then it's my job to bring them back into it. But in this line of business in law enforcement, especially in today's society, you have to do that, be able to be flexible and work with someone and treat everybody with respect. Thank you.
Brian.
So in the line of law enforcement, 24 years in my military, I've traveled the world, and I've got to see different cultures and dealing with different people, and it's built me to be the person I am today. I also believe in treating people with respect. I don't care where you come from or where you've been in life. Everybody needs to be treated the same, no matter what. You know, doesn't matter if you're a business owner or if you're just somebody who's a construction worker. Everybody needs to be treated the same across the board. In my career, in the 24 years, I've had officers and deputies come to me, and I like sharing my knowledge with those other officers and my experiences to help build them up to become better officers.
Christian?
In my professional career as a consultant, this style of learning to compromise is something I deal with every day. I work in a bit of an odd position where I get handed customers the moment the sale's closed, and sometimes expectations don't align because they were trying to close that sale. And my job is to understand the motivations of those individuals that I work with. And that's the exact same thing as we talk about the constituency within the district. I don't think anybody up here or anybody in our district wants anything bad to happen in the county, and yet people disagree because they disagree on what is wrong and what needs to be done to fix it. So understanding that why, what is motivating the people, the towns in the district, where are those issues stemming from, and then taking a look at the facts as far as the budget, as far as what we have going on in the county, and bringing those things together, that's the key, and that's what I think I'll be able to do in this position.
Amber?
Okay, in my current position, I do not work for the county anymore, but in my business, I am a hearing instrument specialist, so I sell hearing aids. I help people every day. I have to take care of people's loved ones every day, and in a business of your own, you can't always make everyone happy, but you do the best that you can. We always have to resolve conflicts in my office, and we walk away from it with a better business, because I think that when you care for people, they come back to you, and word of mouth spreads, and I guess it's really hard for me to answer that question in my profession because it is medical, and I am, not allowed to share anything like that, but I care for people, that's about it.
Dennis?
Yes, in my 32 years of working with the county road department, like I said, my main job was drainage, and I had to deal with a lot of farmers and the different drainage districts, and this farmer didn't want that farmer's water, and you're kind of squished between the two, and you got to be able to deal with both sides. And it doesn't do you any good to get angry. You just have to try to figure out how to work through it and get the job done as easily and the way it should be done. Thank you.
Willie?
I would say in my years of doing construction and working at the county, it's an everyday battle of working with people and trying to resolve all the issues, because some people want things done before other people, and you just have to basically prioritize and move to the front and do what you have to make everybody happy. Thank you.
And Howard?
As I said, I'm a farmer. It's pretty lonely out in the cornfield. I don't have to collaborate with a lot of people, but I do hire 2 or 3 employees seasonally and manage to do that and get along. Working with my vendors, you know, your priorities aren't always first. You have to learn to compromise. My experience on other boards, we had 9 board members most of the time at the elevator board, and it's more about coming to a consensus. Free exchange, I'm a big believer in a free exchange of ideas and coming to a consensus. It's not that one person has the right answer. You just have to learn to compromise and get along.
Okay, thank you. We'll go on to our next question, and this is for the supervisors. So Christian, we'll start with you. How does House File 718 impact Kasuth County?
I do not actually know off the top of my head what that House file is, just based on the name and title alone. If somebody wants to yell it out, they can, but I'll say this in general. Coming to this county board of supervisors, we get thrown out a bunch of other names, of other laws, of other regulations that a lot of people wouldn't know. What needs to be done is to look into these things, to understand them fully. You can talk to any of the members that are on the board now, and when they first sat down, they didn't know exactly what they were doing day to day. The difference between those who have been successful and who contribute to the community are those who have managed to look into these things, take it earnestly, and do their best. So if I don't know that title right now, I promise if anybody in this room gives me a call in a week, I'll be able to tell you all about it and what we need to do to address it.
Amber?
House File 718 is affecting the counties. I'm not super versed on it, but I do know that it affected the way counties can levy for their valuations. And I think it set a maximum, and I think that has impacted our county in a way that we didn't have the tax dollars to work with that normally that we would. And I think it's probably impacted all counties, but I think that maybe we could have done something a little bit differently and maybe levied a little bit higher in the year before that we knew that this was going to take effect, or that the possibility that it was going to take effect, so that it wouldn't have affected us so much. Thanks.
Dennis?
Yes, I've done a little bit of research on that House File 718, and it has to deal with the county has to keep 75% of the budget in that file, or allotted that much, but if they fall below that 75%, the federal DOT road use tax, say they are, say, $250,000 below that 75%, then the DOT road use tax will hold that much money from the county then.
Willie?
House File 718, in a nutshell, basically restricts the growth of the county to 3.5% per year.
Howard?
It would be glib to say I haven't a clue, but I heard him talking about House File 718 on one of the YouTube videos of a supervisor's meeting, and I looked it up, and I still don't know what it means, but I guess my input would be that the state is limiting what they're going to send our way, and somebody's going to have to make it up. There's no free lunch. Libraries have to be open, roads have to be maintained, drainage has to be maintained. Somebody's going to have to pay the bill.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to take the opportunity just to remind our listeners in the community of the two phone numbers to call, 515-320-2583 or 515-320-0111. This next question is for everyone, so we'll start with Amber. It's a two-phase question. Do you subscribe to the local papers, and do you use the library? When was the last time you did, and you can't count tonight? Okay. What was the first part of the question? Do you subscribe to the local newspapers?
I do subscribe to the Algona newspaper, and the last time I used the public library would have been when my children were small. We actually came to this library every single weekend, and I remember the one thing that was such a hit for my children was to check out one of those puppets. And we did that frequently, and it was always a chore to have to bring that puppet back, but they got to pick out another one. So that's the last time.
Yes, I do not subscribe to the papers. I work fairly long hours, so I don't like to sit and read all night long. And as far as the library, I myself have not used them since my kids were young also, and we used it all the time because they had the computers, they could check out books if they wanted to, or just do anything they wanted to with the internet, which was nice, and they could have people help them because I am not a super savvy computer person.
Willie?
I do not subscribe to the Algona paper, and I personally have not used the library, but my wife used it in the last 2 weeks for her schooling that she's going to.
Howard?
No, I do not subscribe to any newspaper. I am a reader. Trade magazines. I subscribe to a few magazines myself, and I read novels, but I do not subscribe to any paper. As far as using the library, I haven't been in the library since it's been remodeled. But before that, it was probably when my kids were younger, so it's probably been 25 years since I've used the Algona Library.
Roger?
Sounds like a pointed question from one of my favorite media people in the county. Absolutely. The Kossuth County Sheriff's Office subscribes to the paper, and unfortunately, we submit articles to the paper every week. So you might read them under the sheriff's block. I'm also a big supporter and advocate of the libraries. I have 7 grandchildren that I know that are going to utilize the libraries. In the last 6 months, I've given the 1440 Award to 2 of our local librarians. I'm a huge proponent of libraries, and we're going to make sure it gets funded in July. I'll be there for that meeting in July. I promise you that.
Brian?
Yes, we are subscribers to the local newspaper. With the libraries, it's really sad to see what's going on with our local libraries. My wife and I actually recently attended the fundraiser in Whittemore, and we also yesterday attended the one in Fenton. And I tell you, when you see the people and what goes on in those public libraries and the kids and the smiles and the gratitude that goes on in those libraries, we need to save our libraries. Whatever it takes, it needs to be done.
Christian?
I do not subscribe to any of the newspapers, but I actually do read them from some of the small towns. When I'm stopping by to buy one, I actually think a new breakfast place opened in Mason City that was on the cover of the Globe the other day. As far as the library go, I've never been in this library before, but I do go to some of the small libraries. Just a couple weeks ago, I was using the printing service at one of the libraries to print out some flyers. And I do think that is a critical issue. As far as reading, I was reading the articles in the Des Moines Registry about what's going on right now in our county, which is kind of received broader news across the county, and I do think it's a critical issue, and one as we talk about finding that balance between the different interests, about that budget-conscious look forward into the future, there's nowhere that that is more acutely apparent than in the library issue that's currently facing us right now. Thank you.
This question is for the supervisors, so we're going to start with you, Dennis. How much support should county libraries get from the county?
I believe that they should get as much as it takes for them to stay above board. I know they had allotted them way less money this year, and most of the libraries will not be able to sustain and be able to stay open because that money will not be enough to keep the heat and electricity, let alone pay for a library custodian or for them.
Willie?
I would say we need to go back to what was budgeted for the libraries to fund them and keep them feasible and moving forward in the future.
Howard?
It'd be super easy to say, give them whatever they need to keep it going, and of course we want to keep them operable. But there's got to be give and take. Yes, one person's hot button issue is the library, the next person's hot button issue is employee benefits, the next person's is road. There's got to be some give and take. I don't know what it takes to keep the libraries open. I don't know if there's room to compromise between what they had and what they allotted. No doubt it was a huge cut. The county's contribution was a huge cut. I'm not aware of what the other funding they have. I'm not aware of what the county's cut means to each individual library. I've heard that it means less to the Algona library than it does the small rural cities.
Christian?
I think that restoring funding to the libraries is very important. They're an integral part of our community, and as many people up here mentioned, they're things that hold strong memories to us, and especially to our children. That being said, there is something to be said about where does that funding come from. The reason that the funding is under consideration right now isn't because anybody's against the libraries. We don't drive on roads with potholes because we like to bounce around. There's an issue that needs to be addressed, and that issue stems from the fact that the budgets have not been managed historically. And so now the increases that are going to the engineering department and some of these other departments are coming to bear, and that's forcing the county to make hard choices. In my opinion, what needs to be done is a deeper dive needs to be done and identify if we're going to preserve those libraries, we need to find that funding elsewhere to maintain fiscal responsibility, not just for this year, but in the future. And it means breaking things down, identifying what is critical to our constituents and the people of the county, and then making sure that the full amount of resources for those to continue operating are allocated to those areas.
Amber?
I feel that the cut that was made this year to the libraries was unnecessary. I feel that that money should be restored as to what the original budgeted amount should have been. And I know that includes a tech grant and then a division by population and then another division. I can't remember how that spreadsheet works for sure anymore. But I do know that the libraries come out of the Rural Basic Fund. There are very few things that come out of the Rural Basic Fund, libraries being one of them, the other being our secondary road transfers, and I believe our REIT commissioner probably gets paid out of there. That fund balance was perfectly healthy. I feel there is no reason to cut that expense. I feel that it took away one thing out of our county, what's kind of pure. It's our libraries. It's good. It's for our kids, it's for our adults, it's for everyone. So I feel that should be restored. Dennis?
I thought I saw it.
Keeping track.
Well, thank you anyway.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Was that for the sheriff also, or just supervisor?
No, just for supervisors, but I think we can open it up to the sheriffs too. Okay?
Great. I'd like to respond to that because it is out of rural basic levy is where the libraries are funded. So when you read and hear on Facebook that why not just have the other departments take a cut? In my budget, which is about 3.5 million, only 300,000 of it comes out of the rural basic. So if you would take 200,000 that the libraries are short out of the sheriff's budget, it would remove our entire budget for patrol vehicles. That's why I made the comment a while back that if you want to make certain cuts, you got to be prepared for what other services will do. Only 300,000 of my budget comes out of the rural basic. So you have to understand what monies come from what levies and what you can do, and there is money there to restore that money to the libraries, and hopefully we'll get some questions on the budget, and I'll explain to you what our ending fund balance is going to be in the next fiscal year. Thank you.
Brian?
So since I've been currently running for sheriff, I've also gotten the budgets from the county auditor, and I've been going through them. And there's definitely areas where we can cut back on spending to make those things and save our libraries. The Fair Board, there's a lot of people that are asking for money, taxpayers' money. And granted, we can't all agree to disagree, but we definitely can all make a part and do this together so we don't lose our libraries and the County Fair Board, the speedway and everything else that's going on.
Okay, this
Is for both sheriff and supervisor candidates, so Howard, we'll start with you. I'll mark that so I can keep track. What are your thoughts about the community liaison position that was established last year? And are you willing to support the position as an ongoing full-time position?
I don't know that much about it, but it was an added position. I don't know if it was mandated or not, but I would be a believer in adding things costs money. If you acquire the old UBC building, it costs money. It's going to cost money this year, it's going to cost money next year, it's going to cost money well into the future. We can't have everything. We can't, I'd say no. We got along without a community liaison officer for 150 years. We could probably get along without a community liaison officer in the future.
Willie?
That's a tough question. I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer in saying that yes, we could keep it and no, we couldn't keep it. It's a specific job title where you may not need an officer, but you may need that. So I guess if I was to say right now, it'd be a 50-50 decision for me. I can't say that we would, and I can't say that we wouldn't, would be my answer.
Roger?
Thank you. Well, I'm very biased in this position because I served on the committee that brought this position forward. For those of you that are out there that say that, well, the sheriff doesn't get along with the Algona Police Department. Chief Miller and myself served on the committee along with our moderator tonight, and the community liaison position is huge because mental health services in Iowa have deteriorated rapidly in the last 10 years. Our community liaison officer assist our officers in every mental health and substance abuse case that we do, so that those officers can go on to the next case and the community liaison follows up. It was funded through a grant that both the City of Algona Police Department, City of Algona Supervisors, Sheriff's Department, we went out and seek this grant, and when it's over, the grant's out, we're going to be able to fund it with about $70,000 for the Sheriff's Department, the county side of it. And this person takes away the responsibilities of 10 full-time deputies that they can follow up on mental health. And folks, if you don't think mental health's a problem, come visit my jail.
I'm a firm believer having the community liaison. I've personally worked with her on numerous cases, and it's amazing to have that extra help dealing with mental health and even just other cases that come up, victims, that she has sources and ideas that she can reach out to people that we can't. So I totally, yes, we need the community liaison here and in our community.
Christian?
We talk about whether or not we need this position. The primary concern can seem to be the budget that's being spent to pay the salary. You heard from both these gentlemen here. They say that it is a position that is allowing resources to be used more efficiently, reducing the amount of officers that have to be on task and the amount of hours those officers are putting in. I think with any position, it's something that bears a lot of prudent thought, a lot of careful consideration both now and over time as whether or not it's still serving that function of providing efficiency, providing a good service. But as of right now, with the endorsement of the individuals who are professionals in that area, then I think it's prudent to take their words and continue to explore this, certainly while it's under a grant, and making sure that we can provide that to our community as appropriate.
I'm not exactly sure how the liaison is funded now, except now hearing that it is either partially or fully funded by a grant, which is great. That means that the people are working hard to provide a service that obviously is needed, not only in our community but everywhere. Mental health is becoming a very large issue, and like I said before, I kind of care. So I would have a hard time saying no to a position like that because it would help the people. And I know that there's people out there that need it. Thank you.
I guess I didn't know anything about liaison person, but listening to the sheriff and the deputy and what they said, and it is funded through grants that they had gone out and got for it. I believe that it should be good because mental health is definitely serious, to be taken seriously. Thank you.
Willie, this next question will have you start first. What experience with budgets do you have? And describe an example where you personally worked with a budget to effectively and fairly adjust a balance a difficult funding challenge. What steps did you take and what was the outcome?
I work out of several budgets in my current job at the courthouse. There is some room to give and there's not a lot of room to give because the cost of everything is going up. And I mean, one of the jokes is, you know, if you want to run out of toilet paper, then cut my budget. That'll be perfect. So, I mean, I don't know where a lot of the public perception on this is that you can just cut and cut, but the county is still a business and it has to run like a business. And you still have functions and services that have to be used and utilized throughout the county. So I don't know that there's an easy answer or how you want this answered in a way that, you know, sounds good. I mean, there's tough decisions coming and it's going to go all the way across the county.
Howard?
Of course, we all have our personal budgets at home. I have a business budget for my farming operation that we have to live within.
You can borrow money, but it has to be paid back. Working on the cooperative elevator boards, it was big business. It was $300 million business. We had budget. We did a budget every year. There's give and take. You're going to get tired of hearing that. But everybody can't have everything they want. There's got to be some give and take. And I appreciate that we got a grant. I appreciate that they've got a way to fund it in the future, but I'd also remind everybody, where do you think grants come from?
Roger?
Thank you. I started in this county 37 years ago for $16,000. I figured out how to work a budget with a family of 3 kids. It took me 33 years to get up to $47,000. I've worked with church budgets, I've worked with local governments, I've been a zoning administrator working with governments. I've also got 37 years experience in the sheriff's office, understanding and knowing what budgets are. I've operated 2 statewide law enforcement budgets that were multi-million-dollar budgets, and in the last 3 and a half years, I've operated the sheriff's office budget and gave an average of 10% back to the ending fund balance. I understand that it's taxpayers' money, I take it seriously, and I do not waste money. If we see that we have everything we need, we make sure it stays in that line item, and I'm projected this year, and I'm proud to say in the last 3 years, I've returned $270,000, $260,000, $517,000, and this year everything should go good enough, we should be able to return another $300,000. So I watch every penny, I know where every dollar goes, and I have a lot of valuable experience with budgets. Thank you.
Brian?
So my experience going back to the military is where I first, in my last duty station, I was in charge of the whole base military accounts, the expenditures. Bullets are money. These units, the federal government allocates these tax dollars to them for their trainings. So I was responsible for keeping track of millions of dollars worth of ammunition and explosives. And I was also on a church board in Lorenz. We also had a budget we had to work with there and be within expenditures. The sheriff, when I worked for him in Pocahontas County, he used to bring me into the office and he used to show me how the budget worked and where these line items went and what expenditures and what costs. So yes, I do have quite a bit of experience in that.
Christian?
I've experienced working with the budget in our own business, running our farm business, livestock production. Also within my profession, I work with budgets and finances kind of every day. We work in the financial kind of adjacent industry there. So I have a lot of experience working around budgets, around accounting principles, and then bringing that to the table as County Board of Supervisors. As been set up here, there's a lot of hard decisions, but I think the focus is on making sure that all of that is properly used, allocated for. And then obviously there is, for everybody up here, going to be a bit of a learning curve when it comes to the county budget. It's not exactly like your own pocketbook at home, right, already writing on your checkbook. But I'll continue to learn and develop and make sure that all of those funds are being used properly.
Amber?
Obviously, my best experience working with budgets would have been my 12 years as the Kossuth County Auditor. The auditor does do the preparation for the budget, and, you know, it's very important to work with your departments of the county to present a budget that can be worked with by the Board of Supervisors. You can't have expenses that are heavier than your revenue. When that happens, your fund balances are going to be eaten away, and the benchmark, you know, for fund balances is you want to make sure that you have 25% of your ending fund balance left for your expenditures to survive July, August, and September. She's showing me the button. I could probably talk all day about budget, but anyway, my best experience is working with the county budget as a county auditor.
Well, I guess my experience as budget would be when I started 32 years with the county. I was married, I had 2 young children, and I was making $8.25 an hour. So if you want to try to raise 2 kids on $8.25 an hour, I'll let you give it a whirl. And it's hard, and the farming and livestock that I have done and raised through the years, you got to learn to be able to budget that, otherwise the end balance is not going to be good. So you got to watch your P's and Q's, and there's some things you can do and there's some things you can't do this year, but maybe next year you might be able to. Thank you.
This next question is
For the sheriff candidates, so Roger and Brian, we'll start with Roger. Briefly describe your leadership style and philosophy.
Perfect. Well,
is that your answer?
thank you. She gave me my answer. My leadership style includes the fact that I don't lead from the front. I lead from behind. I want to encourage and push my employees to perform to the best of their abilities. That's why I encourage the state-of-the-art training. I encourage that we make sure we have the equipment that we need. And I've brought to this county in the last 3 years, we've updated all of our patrol vehicles to have better safety equipment for our officers. My leadership style is to put our employees first and the citizens first, and worry about me second, because I want to make sure that we provide public safety for Kossuth County that's going to lead into the future sheriffs and future deputies and future jailers. Thank you.
Brian?
So I'd like to, in leadership, I always enjoy teaching people and other officers about my experiences and everything that I've learned in my career, and also just in life in general. If you're not willing to do it yourself, you shouldn't be asking your people to do it. That's the way I am. And when I was in the military, and even outside the military, I was in charge of people in the manufacturing area, and I always made sure my guys, I was in there with them doing the job and making sure the job got done. I always, at the beginning of our shift, if they started slacking off and stuff, I would say, hey guys, let's get this going now. Let's get all the work done now, and then if we have time to mess around later, then we will do so. But I always believed in being in there and helping out and working hard.
This next question is for the supervisors, and Christian, we'll start with you. For the candidates running for the supervisor seats, communication has recently been discussed as an issue for the board. As candidates, how will you aim to bring better communication, not just to the board, but to those who you will work with and the public as well?
I think communication, and with it transparency, is a really important issue. Obviously, at the end of the day, the board is there to serve the people of this county, and if there's not that communication, not that transparency, then there's difficulty doing that. We talked earlier about the library, and there's a case in point there. Recently, they started recording the board of supervisor sessions, which is great. I think that's excellent, but not the budget meetings or discussions, and not some of the other secondary things. And so what became a shock to the public when the library is discussed is something that has been being discussed for a while. Yet because that stuff is not being communicated, because the public doesn't have direct access to that, nobody knew about it, and they don't understand the underlying motivations about why this might be happening. So I think continuing to expand that, making sure that whether by recordings or meeting notes, all the work that the board is being done is being presented to the public is critical, and something I'll definitely strive for if I'm elected.
Amber?
Ask that question again.
I can't. It is a little lengthy. Communication has recently been discussed as an issue for the board. As candidates, how will you aim to bring better communication, not just to the board, but to those who you work with and the public as well?
I think communication is very important, and I think, yes, I do agree that maybe some of that has been lost a little bit with our Board of Supervisors at this time. I think what I can bring to the table is I want to work together. I want all of the board members to come together to make decisions, not act on their own, because they shouldn't act on their own. They're a team. And then the communication as far as to the public, I'm just a very honest person. I'm not going to just tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to be honest with you. And yes, transparency is key, especially when working with county government. And you have to trust the people that you elect. And so we'll just start with that.
Yes.
Yes, I agree. You have to be able to work with everyone that is the supervisors, with the public, everybody. You all have disagreements. It's not a perfect world. Everybody has their own opinion and they try to put it together, and you just have to find a common ground and not cause a ruckus and just get through it and push on and make it good on it.
Willie?
Communication is priority one on that board. Most people know me, they know I'm black and white, and I'm going to be upfront and tell you the hard things you don't want to hear, even if you don't want to hear them. That's just the way it is. You've got to tell people what's going on and how it's going to be. There's no in-between on this. Hiding stuff, or I shouldn't say hiding stuff, but not being communicated to the public and letting them know what's coming and what's not coming.
Howard?
It's hard to argue. Communication is important. We need to get along with each other. It seems to be a little bit of a faction going on with the Board of Supervisors right now, and that's unfortunate. I do not want to run Kossuth County. I want the professionals, the elected officials. I know supervisors elected, but I want the county auditor, the county engineer, the county recorder. I want, if health insurance is something that we determine that needs work, let's put them together on a committee and come up with what they think is palatable for ideas. As far as the YouTube thing, I worry. I'm all for broadcasting everything. It's a chance to see what's going on without being there. It's a chance to go back, but I worry that there isn't a free exchange of ideas amongst the supervisors in a meeting because they're tentative.
Okay, thank you. The next question is for everyone. Do you think personal items such as cell phones, vehicles, hotels, and meals should be paid for by the county, not just for supervisors, but for the entities they fund? Not really sure what that means. So the first part is, do you think personal items such as cell phones, vehicles, hotels, and meals should be paid for by the county? And we will start with...
I've never got drawn for so much in my life. I wish there was a prize with this. So, how the sheriff's office does it is anytime our officers or jailers have to leave the county for a day, they get their meals reimbursed. They're provided with a vehicle to transport. We transport all over, folks. We transfer 2 states away. I've been to Texas and back. We have to do a lot of transports with a court-ordered job, okay? But basically, yes, our employees need to be compensated if they have to stay overnight, or we make sure that they're funded if they go to training. Right now, I have 2 deputies in Florida receiving state-of-the-art training. They paid for this training out of their own pockets, $2,000 apiece. All the county did was provide a vehicle for them to get down there. Now, that's dedication. But our employees have the right to be returned with their funds because they want to make sure that we keep good employees. If you start cutting back, pretty soon, guys, I'll tell you right now, I've hired 5 deputies in the last 3 years. We average 1 or 2 applications. It's getting to the point where we got to provide what we can for our employees to keep, recruit and retain very good employees. Thank you.
Brian?
So I'm going to talk on behalf of the cell phones. So when I was a deputy in Pocahontas County, I did a lot of the drug investigations, and we were not provided a cell phone. So I had to use my personal cell phone to contact informants and talk to people. And after a time, you start getting people that get your phone number that you don't want to have your phone number. So here in Cassuth County, we are provided a work phone. I am in support of that because of the calls, the amount of calls that we have to return and talk to people. And going back to vehicles, I'm going to go back to what he just said. So the trip to Florida, that's a want, that's not a need. We need to get back to what wants are and what we really do need. And we can do a lot of local trainings here in the state of Iowa, and there's a lot of free trainings that we can also do out there. Thank you.
Christian?
I don't know what to complete extent employees of the county are being given phones. Obviously, you see it in the police department. Outside of that, I'm not sure. I do think there are absolutely critical areas where these things are important to those individuals and facilitate them doing their job. So I do think there are cases where that's necessary. If you want to be able to call and access your supervisor or other employees, then having a cell phone that's for that job may facilitate you reaching out to them and being able to talk to them and being able to express your opinion. But I do certainly think that if there are areas where this stuff is being abused or being given out perhaps more frivolously than it should, it's something that can be looked into. But there are applications in which not only is it, I think, a good idea, but that it's beneficial to everybody here for the members of the county to have the tools that they need in order to get better at their job and to practice their job day to day.
Amber.
I think absolutely, county employees should be reimbursed mileage if they go to and from a meeting for work. That's a requirement of their job, and I don't know why that would be questioned. I do know that when I worked for the county, I would typically leave for a meeting in the morning. I wasn't big on staying at a hotel, so I felt like I kind of did my part to save the county money there. But if employees need a hotel room and they have a long meeting, yes, I absolutely feel like they should either have that hotel room direct paid or be reimbursed. The one thing that I don't necessarily understand, and I don't know why it even is there, but I don't understand why supervisors are paid to go to the weekly meetings. It's part of their position, and I really don't find that to be necessary. As far as cell phones, if they need the cell phone in their job, Cassuth County should provide it, but not for everyone.
Dennis?
I also agree. The supervisors, I believe, like the sheriff's department, should probably have cell phones. So if people need to call them, they can get a hold of them instead of calling their own personal phone number. And as they said, if the wrong people get your number, then they call you. And it might be 10, 11 o'clock, midnight. They might be calling you on your phone, whereas if you have your designated supervisor phone, you could just have it there, and then in the morning you could pick it up and check it, and plus you're not using the expense of your own personal phone for that. And the budget, as far as the rooms and travel and stuff like that, I believe that should be reimbursed also if it's needed for the work.
Really?
I also believe that they should be reimbursed as long as it is for work. The phones, that is a major thing with the deputies and people that need them. I don't believe everybody needs a phone, including I don't believe the supervisors need to have their phone paid for. If they don't want to answer the phone, a message could be left and they can check it tomorrow. That is part of their job, to answer the phone of the public, and they knew that when they took the job.
Howard?
Absolutely. If you're on county business, if you're traveling, if you're staying overnight, if there's meals involved, you're out of town, I absolutely believe it should be reimbursed. Evidently, cell phone's a hot button issue somewhere, but I'm probably naive, but I'm not interested in carrying two different phones. I'll get by with what I have, but I'm probably naive.
Well, our evening has come to 8 o'clock, 10 minutes after 8 o'clock, so we're ready for closing statements. And you will have 30 seconds. to make your closing statement. And we will start with Brian.
I've served our country, counties, and communities for over 30 years. I bring leadership, honesty, and integrity as your next sheriff. You, the taxpayers, are the CEOs of this county, and we need to be accountable to you. I will be transparent, financially responsible for you. Show up for me on June 4th so I can show up for you as next Cassuth County Sheriff. Thank you, and God bless.
Christian.
I appreciate everybody's time today. I look forward to the opportunity to serve on the Board of Supervisors, to bring that level of care, of attention, to identify all of these issues, both known and unknown, not only thinking about what's going on right now, but what's going on in the future. That way we don't have moments like we're currently experiencing, where some things seem to have gotten out of control, but we can stay ahead of those and on top of those things. Thank you all very much.
Thank you to the AAUW and all those involved in hosting this forum tonight. I'm happy I could be here to answer these important questions. I would appreciate the opportunity to use my knowledge and experience in all aspects of county government to work for you, the citizens of Cassuth County. If elected 5th District Supervisor, I will work with all board members on solutions to get Cassuth County's budget back on track of solid financial health. I would appreciate your support for the primary election on Tuesday, June 4th.
Excuse me, Dennis?
I'd like to also thank everyone who showed up, the questions that have gone, and I am all about accountability and transparency and working with the board, looking forward to it if I get elected, and working with the drainage and other issues that come up with the board and trying to make some new plans and then maybe hopefully carry out them so maybe we can get out of our deficit. Thank you.
Willie?
I also want to thank everybody that put the forum on tonight. In retrospect of this all, I'm pretty much an open book. You get what you see in this position. Anywhere you go, just be true to who you are, and things will come around. I hope I could support Cassuth County in a good way and move forward and make things easier. And thank you for everybody's time this evening.
Howard?
Yeah, I'd also like to thank the organizers of the forum. I think it's a good way to introduce all of us to the public. I encourage you to reach out to me before the election if you have questions, and afterwards. I'd like to have your support in the election, but more important than anything, I encourage you to go vote no matter who you're going to go vote for. Get out and vote. Let's not let 200 people decide what happens.
Roger?
I'm going to pass on my closing statement and instead respond to the wants and needs my opponent made. I'm compassionate about training. These deputies have brought back training that each deputy can make a decision on whether or not they want to provide it because they bought and purchased the rights to video trainings. These officers have been responsible for 46% of our charges. They've filed 127 felony charges in the last 2 years. These two guys are responsible for 83% of it. And now they're leading the other deputies to do the same thing. They invested $4,000 of their own money, and I'm compassionate about it because I think you need leadership that is compassionate about being a proactive approach to protecting our citizens, not reactive.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of our candidates and let's give them a hand. I'd also like to remind you that Tammy Eden is here, and she said that she would be willing to take some questions afterwards. And Kevin Virgil is the U.S. House District 4 candidate. He's present, and he would also be open to questions afterwards. So the primary election will be held on Tuesday, June 4th. Information about voting in the election can be found on the auditor's page at kasuthcounty.iowa.gov or by calling the auditor's office at 515-295-2718. Look for the schedule on your local Access AMU or MediaCom TV station for rebroadcasts of the forum. Thanks to the recording of the AHS broadcasting class, and thanks to KLGA for all its work in providing the live broadcast. On behalf of Algona AAUW and Algona Public Library, thanks for your presence and your questions. Remember to vote on Tuesday, June 4th or before, and thank you for coming.